Another guy, he had 14 houses and he lost them all to foreclosures. He was losing them left and right, boom, boom, boom. And he used to say, I'm like, how you doing, dog? What's going on? Chris, I'm alive. He used to say that. Scott, we're live now. Scott, what do you say for people that are just alive?
Well, it's at least you're alive, I guess, but it's one of those things you could, and I'm not saying to be judgmental, but you can tell the type of person a person is by the words that they use. And there was a guy I heard he was a preacher, but I like the way he said it. He said you can tell what rank you are in God's army, or the devil can tell what rank you are in God's army by the words you choose. And I remember hearing that, and I'm like, it's interesting because people say stuff like I'm alive, and if somebody's listening, they see an opening there, they can jump in on you.
So deep. Good greetings, Roundup family. It's so good to see you. Sunday evening, we've all had dinner and we've all hung out with our family, been in their homes for the day. So tonight, I'm Kris Haskins. My mission to raise your financial literacy is going to be at full impact tonight as we talk to one of my mentors, Scott Jelinek. How you doing, my brother?
I am fantastic. Good to see you once again.
Good to see you too, man. So tonight we're going to just share with you, we're doing a final live training in Virginia Beach. Scott Jelinek will be on the stage teaching and training and networking and just kind of opening our perspectives up to get an action plan for 2024, talking about his slow flip formula that I have adopted in my business. And I just want to get the word out to people that are conventional landlords that there's more than one way to do this rental business. Scott, what do you say to people that are landlords and they just do not want to open their minds up to anything else but being a landlord? What can you help them with?
Well, so not everybody even needs help. So we'll start and finish there. If they love what they're doing and they're happy being a landlord, then they should continue being a landlord. However, most people, it's not the shiny object it was when they got into it. When they got into it and were taught this method or had this thoughts about how landlording was going to be, once they're in it for 6 months, 6 years, or 15 years, all of a sudden they realized they were sold a bill of goods, right? Now they basically have a job working for the bank. They do all this work and then they got to send the money to the bank. So for those that are in that position, this is the type of information that can set them free and get them out of that trap. Now, if they love what they're doing, landlording, they don't necessarily even need to find a better way. If they love it and they're doing well and making money, I say keep doing what you're doing. But that's not the typical answer we get from most people. For most people, it's a different answer. And they're like, this is what I've been looking for. I needed something to save me.
Well, Scott, I want to talk to the people that are landlords not getting rent on time each and every month, every month, every year, every month of the year. That was me in 2010 when I adopted this.
Yeah, so I have, I'll give you I have 178 houses now. I don't have staff. I don't have, management. I don't have really any of the stuff that would go on and I don't have crews doing repairs or any of that because I'm not a landlord. I'm more or less a bank. Even though the deeds are in my name and I own these properties, I just process payments. I am not, I'm not the handyman. I'm not taking repair requests and doing all that stuff that landlords do. And I'm not dealing with, we were talking when we were offline about dogs and cats, or how do we do with pets? I'm like, listen, they can have whatever they want as long as their check comes in. That's my job. My job is to process payments. And as long as they're doing everything within the limits of the law, that's their job.
It is so deep to say that, Scott. Let me ask you for my Roundup family that we have to rewind and do this, just like we didn't do it earlier. How did you get into this thing? You no doubt you have been a landlord before.
Yeah, I've been a landlord for a long time. So I started buying houses in 1994. And I didn't really consider it full time till about 2001. In 2001, I got to 20 houses, and that's when we first started appreciation too. So I started doing what everybody was teaching. That's when I started going to seminars and reading books and learning real estate. It took me that long to actually want to learn it, right? And everybody taught, and they still teach, to do exactly what I ended up doing, which was pull out the equity and buy more houses. And I did that. So I got to 84 houses by 2007, but I also had 84 mortgages. And now I'm the landlord. I'm the one fixing their stuff. I'm the one doing all the work that has to be done and collecting the money if they pay and then sending it off to the banks. And it wasn't until the crash, and we got burned real bad during the crash. And when I was recovering from that, trying to put together a plan, the deals now after the bust were the best deals you've ever seen in your life. The problem was the banks were gone. we were dead to the banks anyway. All our money was gone, so we couldn't pay cash for anything. So we more or less had to come up with a plan of how could we still buy them. And then on the other hand, how could we not have to deal with all the landlording headaches that we were dealing with prior? And that's where the Slow Flip was born. And we've been doing it ever since 2011.
Scott, I'm envisioning myself in 2007, 8, 9, sitting down, writing checks to, I just never forget, EMC, Mortgage Services,
Yeah, I remember
Lipton
EMC.
Brothers, all these things that I'm thinking about. I'm thinking to myself, Chris, how long can you do this? How long can you just take money from the tenant and give it to the lender?
Because, we're all sold on that program, and there still are, but it's all sold on, well, you're not doing good now, but after a couple of years, rents will keep going up and you'll be paying down the mortgage. And it's all a bill of goods, because the reality is, yes, rents go up, but now your house is deteriorating and it's going to need to be repaired, and you're going to have to put that money into it. And that's just the way it goes. And you're going to have your bad tenant here and there that wants to sue you or not get, evicted. And that $300 a month you were supposed to be making, 3 years of that worth is going to be gone now on dealing with this one problem. Air conditioning unit gets stolen. There goes another 3 years. And next thing you know, you're just chasing it for full term forever. And that's where most landlords are. That's where most landlords, they were sold the same thing I was sold. It was a bill of goods. That's it. And, I jokingly, and I've said this from stage too, Chris, you're going to laugh, but I always joke and say, and it's half a joke, that the whole BRRRR method, the whole conventional landlording model, I feel like it was invented by the banks. I feel like they set out the first guys to go on stage and start teaching people that this is what they need to be doing. And really, they were just setting out an army of employees to go and get money and send it up to them. And that's exactly what they did. And these guys are all going around the country training people to send money up to the bank. I think they created the whole program.
You know what? They're free workers.
Wouldn't that be a genius move if you were the bank? Listen, we're going to put some guys in suits and send them around the country as real estate experts, and we're going to teach them to teach their people to rent and borrow from us and then mail us the check every month. And this way, they do all the work. They'll replace the air conditioning unit. They go to court. They screen the tenants. They mow the lawn. And then when they get the money, they send it to us, right?
Holy cow.
It sounds like if I was the bank, that's a plan I would have came up with.
Yeah. I'm laughing. I'm not really laughing. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Just to think that you have boiled down those presentations to that, Scott. It amazes me. I'm amazed because I hear the BRRRR. Whenever I hear BRRRR, my whole I cringe.
I know.
It's same for you. I'm just like,
well, the interesting thing is, so I'm always asking people that love it, and there's a lot of people who love it, and I usually will start and end the conversation with, so how long have you been investing? And I guarantee you it's been 2009 or later every single time. Now, there's a rare exception of somebody who was still new or wasn't over leveraged or whatever when they started. But most people that are talking about how much they love the BRRRR method, what year did you get started? 2009, 10, 11, 15, 18. And so, yeah, I would love it too. And to be honest with you, it may end up great for them. We've been on a long cycle of everything going good, so they may finish it out. Who knows? I just know I'm too old to start over again. So maybe it does work out for them, because the old saying was real estate has a 10-year cycle but a 7-year memory, right? Well, we busted up in 2017, even though everyone says 18. I'm like, my QuickBooks will prove it was 17, right? So that means by 2007. That means by 2017 we should have had a correction. Now we're here 6 years later than that, and we've had nothing. So they're not wrong as long as it keeps going the way it's been going. They're doing great with the BRRRR method, and if it can continue on for another 15 years, they would have paid them off, and it would have worked out great for them. So who knows? Time will tell.
You're a mess. So listen, December 11th, we're inviting you out. Scott's going to be teaching. I'm going to be on stage with him. We're going to be training you how to put an action plan together, just to kind of see what Scott's been doing since he's been doing it since the 1990s. How can you stay in business? Because for me, I tried to do it my way. Didn't work. The traditional landlording thing didn't work for me. So,
Chris, let me tell you the big thing I'm going to show him tomorrow is how any person can set themselves free in the next 5 to 7 years. Any person. So that doesn't mean, like we talked about earlier, that doesn't mean Lamborghinis and yachts, but it means you can set yourself free. The number you need to pay all your bills and not have to go to work, you can accomplish that in the next 5 years. Well, that's huge. Because most people, they're like, well, I want it now. I'm like, well, you've been wanting it now for the last 30 years. How's that worked out, right? Or we can do something right now and know that in 5 years you're free. And that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow, is how any person can set themselves free in the next 5 to 7 years.
Then what do you mean by free, Scott? Help frame that up for me.
Well, we try and come up with what we consider our freedom number. You know, you make a future vision and you look at your perfect day, your perfect life, and then we put a number next to it. What does that cost us monthly to live, that future vision, right? Then we break it down by, and I know this might sound like a really low number to some people, it may sound high, but most people, the average is $10,000 a month.
Right.
$10,000 a month, and they're like, if I had $10,000 a month and I didn't have to work for that 10, and I could be completely free. Well, we have a plan that we can show you exactly how to have that $10,000 in the next 5 years. Now, mind you, for the next 5 years, you're still doing the work, but you're not making the money. But the 61st month, now you're free for the rest of your life. And that is really, there's a saying that I always repeat, which is, if you do what's easy, life will be hard. And if you do what's hard, life will be easy. Well, this is hard for 5 years, but then the rest of your life is easy. And so only people that really appreciate it, or people that have already been trying the other routes, then I've set so many people free, and I love it because of that, because it's a guaranteed path to getting to freedom, not the pie in the sky, or we're going to make $1 million next month, and then you're starting back at zero again because it didn't actually work the way it was supposed to.
Scott, I'm doing over the same issue with my daughter. She's 15, and I'm getting so much resistance from her to put a plan together for her future. Not to say that I'm trying to make her a millionaire overnight, but what is the resistance, Scott, that us humans don't want to think about suffering now for the next 5 years?
I had lunch with a guy recently who was 20. I think he was 20 or 21, and he wanted to learn this and do this. But I can see when I talked about the 5-year thing to him, it really turned him off. And it dawned on me after why, and this is going to be the same thing for your daughter. 5 years for you or me, Chris, is nothing. Goes by like that. But when you're 20, that was a quarter of your life. So now you're saying a quarter of your life more to be free. They're like, no, I want the money now. And so I understand it, especially if she's only 15. So with somebody who's 15, in my opinion anyway, there's got to be a balance. There's got to be some reward now as well. It can't all be for the future, because it's like, oh, I'm young and I want to enjoy my life, and I don't blame them for that. But it has to be also with preparing for the future simultaneously. Okay. You know, when you're older, it's like, listen, I can do 5 years on my head, right? If I knew 5 years and we have all the riches in the world, well, yeah, I'll do the 5 years. But when you're young, you're like, no, what am I getting next month? And so that's the challenge when you're really young, is that a 5-year plan, which is a quick plan for real estate, but for their life when they're young, like for her, that's a third of her life.
Well, Scott, still, once again, man, it's either truth or false, right? And I told her even tonight, I'm like, Taylor, you're 15, whatever, right? You're nothing but a 25-year-old, and you're a 15-year-old. A 25-year-old is just somebody that's 15 that never took the time to think about their future, right? If they're in the same position that they are, and then the 35-year-old person is the same as a 25-year-old person that didn't take the time to set it up. So, I mean, when the hell, when do you start this thing?
I'll tell you, and I know this isn't even what we're talking about here today, but we can talk anyway. So a couple things. One is, there are businesses that do exactly like you said. And there's one lawyer in particular that I know out here locally, and he's been in business like 40 years. And so you would think with 40 years, you got 40 years worth of experience. The flip side to that is, he's got 1 year of experience repeated 40 times. Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what you were just saying there. The second thing is, and this is the one thing that you can get through with younger people, is to say, look around at the people around you. Look at your friends' parents. Look at look at other people's lives, and then you decide, what life do you want to be living? Because if you like the life we're living, which it's hard not to, well, then these are the things that will create the scenario where you can live this same life, or you can do what they do, and no disrespect to them, but then that's the life that you're going to have. And it's as simple as that. It's like, listen, find the life you want, and then do what those people are doing.
Sounds like they need to just recognize what's under their nose.
Yeah,
a little bit of recognizing. So listen, guys, the link's in my video description to register. And we're not even charging you to come. It's challenging to get a guy like Scott to come out to do anything nowadays without
registering. It's only going to be the second time this year I've been on stage. The first time was in January of 23, and this will only be the second time.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's cool. TT, can I help you? Tell mama to call. I'm sorry, y'all. TT is, you want to sit up here? All right, come on. So, Scott, any questions? Oh, we do have some questions, Scott. Let me see. Let me pull them up here. Somebody's been in one of your trainings. Here you go, buddy. Here.
I just read the book, The Art of Slow Pimping.
He's read the book, and he wants to know how are buyers incentivized to put that money down on the buy. when the house is trash, Scott?
So that's a great question, and the incentive is because they can. So how you doing? So their options are don't buy, and then you can be a tenant somewhere else forever, or you may have to buy it in poor condition, and you may have to put in the elbow grease and the work, but now it's yours. And that's the big difference. I got people paying, you're going to laugh when I say these prices. I got people paying $700 a month because they've been with me so long that that same house right now would probably be $1,400 to $1,600 a month. But we don't go up on them. It's their house, right? And so they've been taking care of it. They've been there probably 12 years, and that's what the price was back then. Well, that's the incentive, is that they're not going to be told they have to move and their kids are going to have to change the school district. They're not going to have the rent go up every single year and all of a sudden they'd be priced out. They're going to be able to stay and make it their home. And that's an opportunity that they can't get anywhere else. And so I know you didn't ask this, but I'm going to take it one step further. And it was in the book, but if they were to question, well, there's one in perfect condition on the same block, right, for a lower price or for the same price or whatever it is, and this one's trash, my answer is always, well, then I would buy that one. And then they generally, almost 100% of the time, will come back and say, yeah, but that one you got to pay cash for. And then I said, well, then I would buy mine. And as simple as that. I'm just brutally honest with people. And this is the opportunity in front of you. Some people see the opportunity and some people don't. And we can only deal with the ones who see it as the opportunity that it is.
So on the investor side, Scott, what can you just talk about financing in general? In my opinion, it's the biggest game in town.
It is a hole in the marketplace. So, and I'll talk about investors in a second. So there's a hole in the marketplace, and the hole is that the banks, now some people got lines of credit and all this and that, they got big established businesses, but for most small time investors, the banks will not fund them for these deals. They might give them a hard money loan they can get, but the banks will let them rehab it and resell it, but they don't want to give them a rental loan on a house like this. So, and not with that little money too, they might want 20% down. Well, with us, they're putting $3,000 or $5,000 down. So as a landlord, that gives them the ability to buy more and more houses and do the conventional landlording model, which is make the spread, right? Like we used to do. I always refer to that as 2005 Scott. 2005 Scott would have bought all of these because I'm like, hey, $3,000 down and I can make $200 a month. That's $2,400 a year. It's almost 100% return. Why wouldn't I do that, right? Until you got burned and you realize, well, that 300 goes away real quick with the maintenance, repair, vacancy, and dealing with the tenants. But in the interim, that's the model that they're working. The second thing is Section 8. I do not do Section 8, and I'm not a fan of Section 8, but there is a whole slew of people that love Section 8. We sell to them. We sell to the guys who love Section 8. So I might get $3,000 down or $3,000 down and only $900 a month, but they're going to fix it up, and they might be getting $1,600 a month. That's fine. I want them to make money. Now, I am literally just the bank. They're the ones dealing with rechanging the carpet and dealing with the Section 8 inspection and dealing with collecting the money. All I am is the bank. I'm just waiting on the first for my check, and they deal with the rest of it. I want it to be profitable for all the parties involved.
Jamar, how do you get there? The link's in my video description, my friend. It's right on Northampton Boulevard in Virginia Beach, right next to the IKEA. We're starting at 6:30, networking from 6:30 to 7. So the reason I like these events, Round Up Homies, is you get to come out and raise your frequency. Scott, how important is it to be in the correct environment just to raise your level of awareness for financing, but now towards the end of the year to get ready for 2024? Yeah,
so it's a great time of the year, right? Everybody loves, and myself included. I just bought, you probably got one too, that big ass calendar. You see that, Jerry? I just got it. I haven't done it yet. I haven't filled it out yet, but I'm looking forward to having that the entire year on one sheet. And so I am a big fan of it, and I love this time of year for that purpose, for planning next year. What's my new strategy going to be? Who's the people I'm going to be dealing with? Where am I going to be doing everything comes down to making a plan for the future. And so even though we do it all year, but this time of year is the best because we're making a focus for what the next year is going to be.
I love it. Get ready, action plan right now. And what other way to do it but to hang out with people that are in the real estate business, been in the game for 10 to 20, 30 years doing this, people that have been successful. All right. So for me in 2008, I got foreclosed on a ton of times. Being a regular landlord wasn't in the cards for me personally. So I had to get trained on another way to make money. Scott, is this system for everybody? Is this slow flip thing
It's,
you got?
it's not, I feel like it's for everybody, but I've come to learn that it's not. There are certain people who, and I'll give you for instances, they love their houses. Like they drive by and have pride. They picked out the color of the paint and the light fixture, and they drive by showing their friends, that's their home and they're proud of it. Once you do this system, it's not your pride anymore. It's not your house. There's a tenant buyer in there, and it's his pride. It's his house. And so some people hate that. Some people, one good friend of mine, I'm not going to mention his name, you know him as well. He doesn't do it because these are his exact words. He said to me one time, I said, well, why aren't you doing this? He says, well, with my luck, they'll end up buying it. I'm like, with your luck? Yes, that would be awesome. That would be great. But he felt like if they bought it, I'm losing my house. I'm like, no, with that money, you go buy 3 more, but in his head, it was like, well, with my luck, they'll end up buying them. And
good luck.
Exactly. I'm like, well, that would be great luck. He meant it negatively, but I'm like, no, that's a good thing if they buy them. So, and then some people don't, they feel like, well, it's finite, because if everybody went through their plan, it's 30-year plan. So some people are like, yeah, but then what happens in 30 years? Then I'm done. You are with that one. But instead of you selling it or renting it and getting your little bit of money with the slow flip, the average small slow flips, we make $315,000 on. The small ones that we only have a $30,000 out of pocket, and there's not out of our pocket, nothing out of our pocket. And so when you do those numbers, I'm like, but even that, it almost never happens, because the average American moves every 3 to 5 years. So at that time, they either turn over or they rent it out themselves, or they can give it back to you. So it's not an issue. I mean, but it's just people make up problems in their head. And one of the things I'm always telling people, I say, let's only solve problems that actually exist. Because it's easy to get bogged down with what if this and what if that, or what happens if this, and you come up with 4,000 problems and try and solve each one of them, but they don't actually exist. I'm like, listen, those are all very valid, and when they actually exist, let's discuss it. But until then, we're just wasting our breath.
That's a good way to look at it, Scott. I think Ron Legrand says to me, Chris, you're thinking of stuff that's never going to happen, man. So let's not even waste our time talking about it.
Yeah.
So Roundup Homies, registered in my video description. It's going to be December 11th, 6:30 networking, 6:30 to 7. So you can come out there. It's at a restaurant. They have a full bar. Make sure you support the restaurant. It's local owned, small restaurant. And
There's a bar there?
Yeah, full bar. He just opened it up. Got his liquor.
All right.
Yeah, man. So
I'll wear my drinking shoes.
There you go, brother. Roundup. I'm here to tell y'all, this is the time. Now is the time. And I want to pull Scott a little bit to the left on this. Scott, what would you say about what do you say when people, I know you get it every day. Scott, is it a good time to buy real estate? Should I wait? Should I market, interest rate?
Something. This is from out of the actual mouths of people that are in my program. I'm sure the people that are in your program as well, Chris. The one regret people have always, I wish I started sooner. They love it. They're killing it. But they're like, if I had just started the first time I heard about this, because I've been talking about this on stage since 2015. And I have people that join now and have been following it since then. They're like, if I had just started when you first told me about it, I would have already had them free and clear. I would have already had X amount. I've already been doing this. But that's the biggest regret always, is I wish I had started sooner. That's the only thing you can't get back is time, right? And this whole business, even though I talk about a 5-year plan, that seems long to some people. Well, 5 years is nothing, especially if you start today. If you wait 5 years to do it, you're going to be like, man, I would have been done already. And instead, you wait it out. So the time is the only thing you don't get back.
Start today. Scott, no doubt you, like me, run into 50, 60, 65-year-old people that did not take action, and they're trying to play catch-up speed. Let's talk about what can you do to help people to not be in that situation.
So one of my guys in my group, when he joined, he was 74, and I think he's 77 now.
Holy cow.
Or 78. And he just made a post in our private group for Thanksgiving, and I really, really loved it. But he was saying, when I joined, I said I was going to be retired in 2 years. He was still working a full-time job. He said I was going to be retired in 2 years. Well, that didn't happen. And I was like, where's he going with this? He said, it took me 2.5 years. And he's completely changed his life. And he's like, I never thought I was going to be able to do this and that. And he always says, well, I'm the old guy in the group. But I like telling it, because so many times there's people who are 50 and say, well, I'm too old, or 55, I'm too old. And I'm like, listen, John started when he was 74, and he killed it. And he's crushing it. He's still crushing it. He's still buying more houses, and he's killing it. And and so it goes back to, I wish I had started sooner is the only thing.
You got to take action, Roundup. I don't know. I can't put a gun. Well, we can't go put a knife and the gun to your head to make you make it. Dude, although we wish we could
Your
sometimes.
video is going to be flagged now. You can't even say that.
But round up, homie, Scott and I promise you, Scott, it's something about the person that needs nothing. Let's talk about, and I know we got to go. Tell me, because I when I go places, I'm like, I don't need to buy another house. I don't need anything from you. I want to help you. I want
Right.
to help you. Tell me talk about how you feel, how it feels to
Well,
help
that
other people
recently
out.
just came up on Thanksgiving because I think I even did a video on it. But I was in the Bahamas, and I think I told you, Chris, we bought a house in the Bahamas.
Yeah, I
And I
saw
love
it.
it,
Nice.
and we're going again in 2 weeks. But I was in the Bahamas, and I started getting all these texts and posts from people in the group. They're talking about how thankful they are that they joined, and how and how much it's changed their lives, and so thankful for what we do. And it was like, I'm trying to write. Talk about being inspirational to me, to make me want to do it more. With all these people talking about how much their lives have changed because they joined, and because they started doing this, and because they read the book, and because they followed the steps. And it was amazing to me to think about what an impact you have, I have, what an impact we have when people actually do the things that we're teaching to do, and don't overanalyze it, and don't think about it for 10 years, but actually go out and do it. And that's the reason why I know we keep doing it.
Something, right? It's something. I often, when I'm driving through the day, I'm like, dude, I'm good. I want to talk about how we can help you. I'm like, don't worry about me. We're going to be so all to the good, but we're here to serve, being good stewards of what we have.
Yeah.
Okay, round up. So the links in the video description. We start tomorrow, December 11th. You're going to get Scott. You're going to get food. They got a smoothie bar there, a juice bar, food, a regular bar, full bar. So come out right in Virginia Beach, right next to the IKEA. The link's right down below. Anything else, Scott?
Nope, that is it. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is going to be cool. Okay, round up, homies. Happy holidays to you. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at the live training to learn this slow flip thing. And the reason I'm promoting Scott is because I think there's so many different ways we can all make money. Being a landlord is just one way.
Yep. Million ways to make $1 million. Choose one.
I love that. Scott, there's so much I want to talk to you about. I'll let you go. The calculator thing. When you talk about debt, leveraging, and all that stuff.
Right.
Where'd you come up with that, as opposed to, my lifestyle versus the calculator?
You know where I came up with it was people's arguments to me as to why they didn't like my plan. They would be like, well, yeah, but I spoke to my accountant, and my accountant said X. Or I spoke to my lawyer, and my lawyer said X. And so that's where I came up with it. I said, and if you do this, this is what will happen. If you do this, this is what they'll say. And if you consult your calculator will even say, Scott is wrong. You can make more money doing this. But your calculator is missing a button, and that's the peace of mind button. And I said, and you don't really appreciate peace of mind until you didn't have it. And, I know you didn't have it, and I didn't have it. But some people that started, 2009, 10, 11, they've never seen the lack of peace of mind that we went through, right? And so they don't appreciate the peace of mind button, but I appreciate it, and I don't make any decisions that will take me away from that.
That's deep. Peace of mind button. I don't think there's one on the calculator.
No, mine has one, but
okay. All right, round up. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
All right, have a fantastic evening.
You too. Peace.